Hello there, I'm Nafisa Latic. Welcome to the last episode of Across the Balkans for this year. This week, we analyze the biggest stories and events of the last 12 months and the impact they've had on people's lives. Now, just as economies in the Balkans were looking to rebound from COVID-19, they faced a combination of new challenges, from Russia's attack on Ukraine and rising energy prices to the slowdown in global growth. In the first half of the year, the unemployment rate in several countries rose to record highs as the region struggles to provide enough gas and electricity to last the winter. Governments in the region have also been impacted by a widening rift between long-standing Russian influence, EU engagement, and a reinvigorated NATO. Mirjana Miladinovic looks back at one of the region's most challenging years since the end of the war.
As Europe was slowly moving on from the COVID-19 pandemic, another crisis struck, shaking the continent to its core. The conflict in Ukraine has had major geopolitical consequences for the Balkans, deepening the region's divide between pro-Russian and pro-Western camps. Serbia continues to defend the Kremlin position. Bosnia and Herzegovina will not declare an official stand due to the veto power of Milorad Dodik, the Serbian representative of the tripartite presidency. Montenegro is trying to escape from Russian pressure and form yet another new government. 3 other Balkan states, Albania, Kosovo and North Macedonia, are following the Euro-Atlantic line, condemning the Russian attack on Ukraine and joining Western sanctions. The war has the potential to further destabilize the Balkans, often referred to as Europe's soft underbelly. It's feared the region could easily turn into a new source of unrest in an already shattered continent. And for many, it is clear why.
Mi smo, objektivno govoreći, u samom srcu Europe i mi kao takvi uvijek predstavljamo zanimljivo jedan teritorij, jedan prostor za razne interese i to gledamo zadnjih nekoliko hiljada godina.
That's also the case right now. Even though the conflict in Ukraine has nothing to do with the Balkans, it has deepened long-standing divisions while heightening political crises and financial problems.
Bez sumnje izdvojila bi Crnu Goru. Crna Gora je najdalje bila došla u pregovorima o članstvu u Europskoj uniji. I da to napredovanje nije zaustavljeno pred otprilike 2 godine nakon one promjene vlasti. Ja mislim da bi Crna Gora danas bila pred vratima, dakle pred ulaskom u Europsku uniju.
Just this year alone, Montenegro faced multiple setbacks. In February, the pro-Serbian, pro-Russian government of Zdravko Krivokapić fell. And 2 months later, Dritan Abazović became the new prime minister with votes from the pro-Western opposition. But his government soon lost that support after signing a controversial agreement which critics said gave the Serbian Orthodox Church too much power. It triggered a confidence vote and the government collapsed less than 4 months after it was elected. The pro-Western president Milo Đukanović then suggested that instead of trying to form a third government in 2 years, the parliament should hold elections. But the pro-Russian majority didn't like the idea. So in December, it passed a new law which gives the parliament the power to overthrow the president. It's a far cry from 2020, when the pro-Russian opposition was on the streets waving Serbian and Russian flags. Now the tables have turned. Montenegro is entering 2023 with protests under Montenegrin and EU flags, but perhaps further from the EU than ever.
Jedan od vjerovatno najupečatljivijih momenata i izglasavanje temeljnog ugovora sa Srpskom pravoslavnom crkvom. Zašto? Zato što sam tajming i sadržaj tog ugovora su zapravo bili jedna demonstracija te velikosrpske ekspanzionističke politike i obilježavanja teritorije, čak i u kontekstu onoga što je uticaj Rusije u trenutku kada je Crnoj Gori bio otvoren jedan mali i neočekivan prozor da ubrza svoj proces evropskih integracija.
As the Balkans' smallest state grapples with a much bigger crisis, the Ukraine conflict has also burdened the region's most important player, Serbia, with its own set of problems. Both in Serbia and Republika Srpska, people have been spray painting the set symbol in public spaces to express solidarity with Moscow and support for its attack on Ukraine. Meanwhile, for many Kosovo, Albanians and Bosniaks, images emerging from Ukraine have brought back harrowing memories of the wars they endured in the 1990s. They worry that a Russian victory may encourage Serbian nationalists to avenge their losses in those wars and draw new borders. At first glance, President Aleksandar Vučić seems to have good ties with Western partners and the EU, but also with Russia and other big players like Turkey and China. But once we dig a little deeper, it's obvious that Serbia at the moment is stuck in a riddle that may be hard to solve. Serbia in 2022 was marked by elections, protests and the unresolved Kosovo issue. Belgrade wants to become an EU member, but doesn't want to join the sanctions on Russia. It wants to solve the Kosovo issue, but not on EU's terms. And now, if a conflict breaks out, it may no longer count on help from Russia, which is fighting its own battles. But over the years, Serbia has become so reliant on Russian energy that even if Vučić wants to, it's now almost impossible to get away from Moscow's grip. And with that, Serbia is also losing its compass in negotiations with Kosovo.
Ova godina će biti obeležena time da se je kriza produbila, da se je približila čak, ne više teorijski, nego praktično oružanim sukobima, građana, paravojski s jedne strane srpske i naravno kosovskih bezbednosnih snaga onog časa kada Zapad dopusti da one budu upotrebljene, ali razlozi se više rastu za to. Tako da bi rekli da je ovo neka godina, nažalost, ne oslobađanja od iluzija, nego stvaranja nove iluzije koja direktno kopira rusko-ukrajinski odnos i vodi nas direktno u neposredni, lokalni, lokalizovani sukob.
But Kosovo ends the year by following the clear instructions of Western partners and submitting a formal application for EU membership. Meanwhile, the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina wasn't much better either during the first part of the year. Turbulent elections and the desires of Republika Srpska entity leader Milorad Dodik to change borders woke up the ghost from the 1990s. But they were soon put to rest after European affairs ministers from the 27 EU nations agreed to grant Bosnia candidate member status as the conflict in Ukraine accelerates the bloc's enlargement process. 6 years after its application, Bosnia closes 2022 as a EU candidate, just like Moldova and Ukraine back in June.
Rat u Ukrajini, Bosni i Hercegovini donio jednu, nažalost, dobru stvar, moram reći, žao mi je Ukrajinaca, ali to je za Bosnu i Hercegovinu bilo dobro, a to je da je Dodikov plan za odcepljenje koji je nesumnjivo uključivao i korištenje nasilja za postizanje tog cilja, stavljeno ad acta zato što je rat u Ukrajini pokazao da Rusi prvo nemaju vrstu moći koju su ljudi na Balkanu mislili da imaju, a drugo i bitnije od toga je da Rusi ne mogu više doći potencijalnu pomoć Dodiku u slučaju da ukrene u neku vrstu avanture.
But not all Balkan countries had a rougher year. For Croatia, 2022 was marked adopting the euro as national currency and becoming part of the Schengen zone. But global problems did touch Croatian soil as well. Of all the Balkan countries, Croatia was the most affected by the energy crisis. Gas consumption is high in Croatia, but the country looked to turn the crisis into an opportunity by working towards gaining energy independence.
To je nešto što u Hrvatskoj postoji već dugo, mislim ta svijest. Postoji naravno i mogućnost. Mislim da je tu bilo dosta pokušaja da se recimo politički spriječi izgradnja fiksnog LNG terminala koji je bio u planu. Na sreću, nakon toga i uz pomoć Europske unije uspostavljanje plutajući LNG terminal, dakle brod. Ti kapaciteti će se povećati. Hrvatska ima i nešto plina iz Jadrana koje dijeli sa Italijom.
For North Macedonia, the year started with Dimitar Kovachevsky as the new prime minister, and later in June, lawmakers passed a French brokered deal aimed at settling a dispute with Bulgaria, clearing the way to long-awaited European Union membership talks. North Macedonia is another Balkan country whose EU path has suffered due to external influences. Russia's attack on Ukraine has reverberated globally, but particularly in the Western Balkans, where Moscow, Brussels and Washington vie for influence. What lies ahead for the region in 2023 is hard to tell, and not many could have predicted even a fraction of what unfolded here in the past year. But what seems certain is that the Russia-Ukraine conflict has lit spot fires across the Balkans, which may smolder for a long time to come. Mirjana Miladinović, TRT World, Podgorica, Montenegro.